crime. But in May 2025, that same river of no return becomes the hiding place of a dark, dark secret.
Who are you? So what are you coming out here for?
Excuse me for if I got you excited.
A woman walks into the Custer County Sheriff's Office to make a missing persons report.
Do you know what he was wearing last when he left?
Pair of boots, blue jeans, and I think it was
He pointed between his eyes and said, "Take your best shot." And that's exactly what Allan Bruce did. The bullet tore through Patrick Shelton's skull. And then Allan didn't stop there. He took a chainsaw to the body. He burned what was left in a barrel behind his trailer. He threw Patrick's ashes into the Salmon River, just a few miles from the Frank Church River of No Return Wilderness, the largest roadless area in the lower 48. And then Allan looked the sheriff's deputies straight in the eyes and lied to them. You know, just like I know, when a man mutilates a body and scatters the evidence across a mountain range, that isn't self-defense. That's something much darker. That's ritualistic. Helen was the first one who knew something was wrong. She wasn't Patrick's biological mother, but she had taken him under her wing, and she loved him like her own. Patrick was a rough man, sure. He drank too much sometimes, he parked his motorhome on other people's land, and he cut firewood in the foothills to scrape together whatever cash he could. But he was a fixture in Shalice, Idaho, a town so small that everybody knows everybody, and nobody locks their doors at night. On May 10th, Helen walked into the Custer County Sheriff's Office, and she told them Patrick had been gone for 5 days. He was supposed to come back Wednesday morning, and he never showed.
Adoptive mother, Helen, is concerned she hasn't been able to get in contact with him at all.
Does this picture resemble what he looks like right now?
His beard is a little fuller, and his hair is better shape than that, but
okay.
Yeah, blue eyes.
Okay. Is that maybe the best picture you have right now of him?
Yeah.
And he was supposed to be back Wednesday morning.
I didn't see. Sometime told me to see me tomorrow. That's what he said.
But he never showed. He doesn't have a fixed address in Shalice, but he's a regular fixture of the town, a place where everybody knows everybody. He's made friends, and he's also pissed people off, parking his motorhome on their land.
He wasn't answering his phone. His red Dodge pickup with the missing front bumper and the black rack on the back was nowhere to be found. And he had left his little dog Ryder behind with someone else, which Helen said he would never, ever do. That dog went everywhere with him. The deputy took the report, and he asked Helen if there was any reason to think Patrick was in danger. She said, no, just unusual. Just unusual. But Helen knew more than she was saying in that first interview. She told the deputies that Patrick had been fighting with a man named Allan Bruce. Allan was 70 years old, a rancher who lived on a remote plot on the outskirts of town, and he had been involved in property disputes before. One of them involved a claim of arson. Allan had moved Patrick's motorhomes.
I don't think so.
47-year-old Patrick Shelton was reported missing earlier that day.
Is there any reason to think he's in danger?
No.
Beyond, like, hey, it's just, this is unusual.
Just unusual, yes.
Okay.
And at first, there's no sign of him. But this is a small, close-knit community, and when they pull together, a trail of evidence begins to emerge. And it points to one person.
You can pick your friends, and you can pick your nose, but you can't pick
probably destroyed the transmissions. Patrick was furious about it. That's why he had gone up to Allan's property in the first place, to move his stuff off the land before things got worse. And now, Patrick was gone. The deputies drove up to Allan's place that same evening. You can see the tension in the body cam footage. Allan shuffles around, one thing after another, he says, like the whole world is happening to him.
Do you know why he went there?
He was supposed to go move his motorhomes, and when he got out there, Allan had moved them with the bulldozer.
Okay.
Not good.
Okay.
Probably screwed up the transmissions, and I don't know. I try not to get in the middle of his.
Allan Bruce is another local man. 70 years old, he lives on a rural plot on the outskirts of town, and his skirmish with Patrick isn't the first of its kind. He's been involved in property disputes before, including a memorable claim of arson last year. If he damaged Patrick's property, maybe Patrick was upset enough about it that he left town. 5:25 p.m. Deputies arrive on Allan's property.
Hey, Allan. How's it going? One thing after another? That seems to be the way it is. Shoot, I'm kind of doing two jobs myself, ranching, and it's one thing after another for me too. Hey, I was just coming to chat with you. We had a report
And
that
he's just an innocent bystander. The deputy asks him when he last saw Patrick, and Allan's story starts shifting immediately.
Dog, Ryder, left in the front seat.
He's messed himself.
Yeah, I believe it. Hi, buddy.
Would he leave his dog?
No, I don't think so.
47-year-old Patrick Shelton was reported missing earlier that day.
Is there any reason to think he's in danger?
No,
Beyond, like, hey, it's just, this is unusual.
just unusual, yes.
Okay.
And at first, there's no sign of him. But this is a small, close-knit community, and when they pull together, a trail of evidence begins to emerge. And it points to one person.
You can pick your friends and you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your family.
The truth of what happened to
Property
Pat
knowing in their gut that something terrible has happened there. First he says Thursday night, then he says Friday. Then he says Patrick left his truck on the property all day Friday and came back to get it Friday evening. Then he says, no, wait, it was Thursday night after all. You can hear the deputy trying to nail him down on the timeline, and Allan just keeps drifting, keeps adjusting, keeps looking over his shoulder like he's checking to see if something is still hidden back there. The deputies notice footprints near a trailer door that looks cut or broken. They notice a deadbolt that someone forced open. But they don't have a search warrant yet, so they have to leave. They have to walk away from that place. They found Patrick's truck later that night.
okay.
There's tension in his body language here. Maybe he's concerned for a missing acquaintance, even one he was fighting with. Or maybe there's something he's not saying.
So Thursday night, just trying to think. You may be the last person that saw him because he would have then gone up there that night potentially?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The deputies walk around the property. Without a search warrant, they can't go inside any of the vehicles parked around the plot. But one thing's clear. Patrick's red Dodge isn't here.
You recognize any of this stuff? Is this his stuff?
This is Pat's stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are these your footprints?
No.
Take a photo of those. That's just open.
Yeah, that one looks open. That looks... I think it looks cut. Or broken.
This isn't, unless there's that red bolt.
Well, I imagine the bolt was there.
Right.
Up in the hills, where he used to cut firewood, it was abandoned. No sign of Patrick anywhere. But Ryder was still inside. The little dog had been left in the front seat for days by that point. He had messed himself, he was scared and thirsty and confused. And the deputies knew right then that Patrick was dead. Because a man who takes his dog everywhere, a man who that dog loves and follows without question, does not leave that animal to suffer alone in a cold truck in the middle of the wilderness. You don't need to be a detective to understand that. You just need to be a decent human being. The deputies called out into the darkness. "Patrick, can you hear us?" Nothing came back except the wind. Body camera.
That's an additional.
I'm assuming Allan had to access it to put it in neutral, which technically you could be looking at unlawful entry.
But Allan's property crimes don't explain where Patrick's gone. The deputies flag down a passing neighbor.
I'm kind of curious. Because you live right down here. Do you keep track of what goes on around here?
Not really.
No?
I knew his other truck, the red one.
Yep.
Red Dodge.
Yep.
Like, it could be 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, he'd come up through here.
Patrick would come home from the mountains at odd hours of the night. And if he's only been gone for a day or two, maybe there's still time for him to do the same tonight. But the deputies have got a sinking feeling. They don't think he will.
And then the evidence started stacking up fast. Patrick's daughter found a piece of mail on the side of the road.
Detailing every crucial minute in a missing person search and eventual murder investigation of Patrick Shelton. Shalice, Idaho. A tiny town nestled in the mountains. It's right on the edge of the Frank Church River of No Return Wilderness, the largest contiguous wilderness in the U.S. outside of Alaska. As a result, disappearances aren't exactly unheard of. Whitewater rafting in the Salmon River is notoriously perilous, and is named the River of No Return for a reason. And hikers in the hills can run into dangerous animals, or get lost and wind up dying of exposure.
Near where the truck was parked, it had Allan Bruce's name and address on it. Inside the truck, the crime scene unit found another letter with Allan's name, alongside dark red stains, and what they described as possible brain matter across the interior.
I'm assuming Allan had to access it to put it in neutral, which technically you could be looking at unlawful entry.
But Allan's property crimes don't explain where Patrick's gone. The deputies flag down a passing neighbor.
I'm kind of curious, because you live right down here. Do you keep track of what goes on around here?
Not really.
No?
I knew his other truck, the red one.
Yep.
Red Dodge.
Yep.
Like, it could be 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, he'd come up through here.
Patrick would come home from the mountains at odd hours of the night. And if he's only been gone for a day or two, maybe there's still time for him to do the same tonight. But the deputies have got a sinking feeling. They don't think he will. 7:45 p.m. They follow the trail up into the hills where he was known to take his truck.
So these tracks, I don't know if we're going to get better ones, but...
The Dodge had been sitting there for days. The rain had soaked through everything. And when the cadaver dog finally got onto Allan's property with a search warrant, it hit on something immediately. The burn barrels. Those barrels had been sitting in plain sight behind Allan's trailer the entire time the deputies were talking to him. They were in the background of the body cam footage from the very first interview. Allan had been standing right next to them, acting like he was just a concerned neighbour, while Patrick's bones were still smouldering inside.
No.
Dog's in the seat.
Alive?
What was the dog's name?
Ryder.
Ryder, buddy. Ryder.
Pat, can you hear us? Do a 360 around the truck, looking for drag, blood, anything.
The deputy radios back down to the sheriff's office in the town below them.
Okay, so we're at the vehicle. He is not. His dog is in the truck. So we're gonna need somebody to take the dog if we can't locate him tonight, but that's secondary. We've called out to him, seeing if he would call back. We've got no response. I don't see any.
Inside the barrels, they found broken glass from a car window, consistent with a bullet impact, latex gloves, a vacuum cleaner filter with traces of blood, night vision binoculars that Allan used to stalk Patrick in the dark, Patrick's blood-stained baseball cap, and human bone fragments. A forensic team would later determine that Allan had burned Patrick's body so thoroughly that almost nothing remained. Almost nothing. But he didn't count on the cadaver dog, he didn't count on the bone fragments, and he didn't count on his own brother. Brian Bruce called the sheriff's office while the search was still happening. He told them he had texted Patrick a week earlier and told him to get his stuff off his brother's lot. He said the situation had escalated way beyond a property dispute.
Of the Salmon River when he spots someone behaving suspiciously.
Who are you? Well, there weren't a lot of lights until you started spotlighting me. Stop right there. Just go ahead and stop right there. So what are you coming out here for?
That guy there, Patrick Shelton, that's his stuff. I'm kind of looking after a little bit.
It's Allan Bruce.
So what are you doing? You're just keeping an eye on
Patrick Shelton's shit.
Okay.
Got a little thieving problem going on down here, and I just want to make sure you weren't that guy's.
You having a little what problem?
Thieving.
What?
Thievery.
Thievery. Okay.
He keeps looking over.
He said Patrick had threatened Allan and waved a big gun at him. And then Brian said something that changes everything about how you understand this case. He said Allan had given him a gun as collateral for a loan, but then Allan asked for it back. He told Brian that Shelton was threatening his life, and he felt afraid for his life, and he wanted his gun back. So, like a dumb shit, I gave him his gun back. End of body camera.
Or the
If that is a deadbolt, that's an additional.
I'm assuming Allan had to access it to put it in neutral, which technically you could be looking at unlawful entry.
But Allan's property crimes don't explain where Patrick's gone. The deputies flag down a passing neighbor.
I'm kind of curious, because you live right down here. Do you keep track of what goes on around here?
Not really.
No?
I knew his other truck, the red one.
Yeah.
Red Dodge.
Yep.
Like, it could be 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, he'd come up to me here.
Patrick would come home from the mountains at odd hours of the night. And if he's only been gone for a day or two, maybe there's still time for him to do the same tonight. But the deputies have got a sinking feeling. They don't think he will.
Those are Brian's exact words. He handed his brother the weapon. Days later, Patrick was dead. But here's what the media won't tell you, and what they don't want you to know. Allan Bruce didn't act alone in covering this up. He gave those firearms to an associate after the murder and told him to hold onto them until somebody else comes and asks for them. He spread the story that Patrick was a drunk and a dope fiend, which might be partially true, but that doesn't justify a chainsaw. He wrote an 18-page letter to Patrick's daughter after he was arrested, telling her that he had done the family a favour by destroying the body, because they probably couldn't have afforded a funeral anyway. He mocked an orphaned daughter about the cost of burying her own father, while the ashes were still washing down the Salmon River. That isn't remorse. That isn't fear. That is demonic. That is the kind of evil that doesn't just kill a man, but tries to erase him completely. Tries to make his own children feel grateful that there was nothing left to bury. The detectives confronted Allan at the crime scene. They brought him back to his own property and made him watch as they dug through the burn barrels and pulled out the evidence he thought he had destroyed. They asked him straight up, man to man, "Did you burn a body?" And
we're not
Allan
going to be able to cover enough ground with the three of us to really make a difference unless he's just down in a cop somewhere.
With the sun setting, night is drawing in, and their window for a search is rapidly closing.
His chainsaw's not here. He always has his chainsaw. I'm thinking so.
But Patrick also rarely lets Ryder leave his side.
I was talking to someone mentioning that, like, he takes it everywhere with him. It's pretty unusual that it's sitting in the truck.
The dog also seems to have picked up a scent.
He's...
I kind of want to walk down there and see if his behavior still points that way.
Right. Let's walk him.
Come on. Show us. Show us, buddy. Where are we going, dude?
But Ryder ends up leading them in circles. He can't work out where his owner is either. And in the remote hills at twilight, every sound has the deputies on edge.
Did you hear that?
Negative.
sounded almost like a chainsaw trying to start.
What direction?
From the front of the truck, just a little bit. If you're facing away from the truck, just a little bit to the right.
We oughta. Nope. On the windshield.
In case he comes back and finds his dog gone.
Yeah.
Why would you be using a chainsaw?
Yeah, I did. He admitted it. He admitted he took a chainsaw to Patrick's body. He admitted he threw the remains in a burn barrel with a bunch of wood underneath. He admitted he chopped him up. His words, "I chopped him up. I took a chainsaw to him."
Rifle case, no rifle.
Interesting.
Patrick was known to keep a firearm with him, but just like his chainsaw, that firearm is nowhere to be found. It's a tough search. There's a lot of stuff on Allan's land. Some of it Patrick's, some of it not, and it's hard to tell the difference. With all the work Allan's been doing on it, it's also hard to distinguish a crime scene.
Something stinks. Oh, it stinks bad.
Yeah, this is the only spot that looks fresh that I've seen. Fresh dug.
Yeah, this is where Jared described he was raking, was right here. Do we want to call out the cadaver dog?
Then he threw the chainsaw in the river. Then he threw the burn barrel in the river. Then he stood in front of a judge and tried to claim self-defense. The self-defense claim collapses the moment you look at the facts. Allan was lying in wait. He admitted it. He said he was hiding in the darkness with night vision binoculars, watching Patrick sit in his truck, waiting for him to come out and show himself. He stepped out with the gun. He confronted Patrick. And Patrick, who was unarmed according to every piece of evidence except Allan's word, said, "You better pull the trigger, mother." So, Allan did.
Evidence of struggle or anything like that. We're still conducting our investigation on that. But his chainsaw's not in the truck, so I'm wondering if he may have gone down with it. I need you to get a hold of the boss and see about a possible search and rescue from this location, and or maybe in the morning. But we kind of want his thoughts and feelings on it. We're not going to be able to cover enough ground with the three of us.
He shot him between the eyes, and then he spent days dismembering the body, burning the pieces, scattering the ashes, hiding the guns, lying to the police, lying to his own brother, and writing letters to the victims' children, telling them they should be grateful. The judge saw through it. When Allan tried to withdraw his guilty plea at the sentencing hearing, the judge refused. He shut him down. 20 years in the Iowa Department of Corrections. 10 years fixed before he's even eligible for parole. Allan was 70 years old at the time of the hearing. He'll be 80 before he has any chance of seeing the outside of a prison cell. And that's if the parole board decides he's worthy. Given the 18-page letter, given the chainsaw, given the way he mocked a grieving family in open court.
We're going to need somebody to take the dog if we can't locate him tonight, but that's secondary. We've called out to him, seeing if he would call back. We've got no response. I don't see any evidence of struggle or anything like that. We're still conducting our investigation on that. But his chainsaw's not in the truck, so I'm wondering if he may have gone down with it. I need you to get a hold of the boss and see about a possible search and rescue from this location, and or maybe in the morning. But we kind of want his thoughts and feelings on it. We're not going to be able to cover enough ground with the three of us to really make a difference unless he's just down in a cop somewhere.
With the sun setting, night is drawing in, and their window for a
I
search.
think we all know how that parole hearing is going to go. But here's what keeps me up at night, and what should keep you up too. Allan Bruce lived on the edge of the River of No Return wilderness for decades. He had a criminal history stretching back to California, where he was charged with assault with a deadly weapon, where he gave ammunition to a minor, where his own ex-wife said she was afraid he was going to kill somebody because he was out there in the middle of the night firing rifle shots at people he suspected were stealing his equipment.
I kind of want to walk down there and see if his behavior still points that way.
Right. Let's walk him.
Come on. Show us. Show us, buddy. Where are we going, dude?
But Ryder ends up leading them in circles. He can't work out where his owner is either. And in the remote hills at twilight, every sound has the deputies on edge.
Did you hear that?
Negative.
Sounded almost like a chainsaw trying to start.
What direction?
From the front of the truck, just a little bit. If you're facing away from the truck, just a little bit to the right.
We oughta... Nope. On the windshield.
The man had a pattern. He had decades of escalating violence, and he had the perfect hiding place in his backyard, the largest contiguous wilderness in the United States outside of Alaska. Millions of acres of forest and river and mountain where a body could disappear forever. The divers searched the Salmon River in July. They didn't find anything. A fisherman dredged up another burn barrel 5 days later. It had been washed clean by the current. Allan admitted it might have been his. It once contained the dismembered body parts of Patrick Shelton. But what else did it contain? What other secrets are still buried in those hills? What other missing persons cases from that part of Idaho suddenly make a lot more sense when you know that Allan Bruce was out there with his night vision goggles and his guns and his burn barrels and his chainsaw? You can pick your friends and you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your family. Brian Bruce said that to the detectives, and he was right. He knew what his brother was capable of. He said it himself. I don't know what he's capable of. Coming from family, that is the most damning indictment possible. Even his own blood knew that Allan had darkness in him. Even his own brother understood that when Allan asked for that gun back, something terrible was about to happen.
To make a missing persons report.
Do you know what he was wearing last when he left?
Pair of boots, blue jeans, and I think it was a dark t-shirt and baseball cap, and he's got a little pug rider that is with him everywhere.
And who is he to you? Is this your son, who is Patrick to
Just
you?
one of my dear kids that I've taken under my wing.
Okay, so not biological.
No, and I have his phone number, but he hasn't answered, so.
Okay, yeah, if we could collect that. And you said the last time you saw him was Tuesday night. Was that at your residence? Or where was that you saw him
He
last?
came to my house.
Today is Saturday. Patrick Shelton hasn't been seen in 5 days. And while this isn't totally unusual, his adoptive mother, Helen, is concerned she hasn't been...
Patrick Shelton was no saint. The text messages show he made threats. He told Allan to make your peace. He was angry about his property, and he showed up at Allan's place looking for a confrontation. But there is a world of difference between a property dispute and what Allan did. There is a line between self-defense and dismemberment, and Allan Bruce crossed it the moment he picked up that chainsaw, the moment he lit that fire, the moment he sat down and wrote an 18-page letter to a grieving daughter, telling her she should be grateful that her father's body was destroyed. That is not the behavior of a man who feared for his life. That is the behavior of a predator who finally got caught. The system worked in the end, but just barely. If Patrick's daughter hadn't found that piece of mail on the side of the road, if the cadaver dog hadn't hit on those burn barrels, if Allan's own brother hadn't come forward and told the truth about the gun, this case might have gone very differently. Allan might still be sitting on his ranch today, watching the river roll by, knowing his secrets were safe beneath the current. Instead, he'll die in a prison cell. And Patrick's family will never have a body to bury. They will never have a grave to visit. They will only have the knowledge that the man who took everything from them is exactly where he belongs. What do you think is still buried out there in the river of no return wilderness? How many other families are waiting for answers that will never come because Allan Bruce took those secrets to his prison cell? And when you look at the body camera footage of that first interview, when you see Allan standing there with his hands in his pockets, lying through his teeth while the burn barrels smoulder in the background, does that look like justice to you? Or does it look like something much darker that almost got away with it completely? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, because I want to know what you see when you look at this man's face. I want to know if you think the system truly worked, or if we just got lucky this time.